So one area the right has always been utterly incompetent at is when it comes to expanding their voter base has always been the youth vote and the black vote. Now, as it goes to the youth vote, it's run like the Republican Party is run by a bunch of boomers, out of touch, wealthy, elite boomers. The boomers economically screwed the millennials, and every time the millennials bring up this problem, they are always pushed down and dismissed, just as they do with the black vote. When it comes to, problems in the black community, same thing. It's some oversimplified excuse and they brush them off. So they vote for the other party that screws them over exactly the same. They just lie to them about it. And one of the problems here is, like I said, they're going to talk about the anti-work subreddit. Now, what they kind of describe, they're trying to show the anti-work subreddit here as, and this anti-work movement, is a bunch of, like, idiot communists that are like, the government should, like, pay for everything, and then, like, no one will be impoverished, which, essentially, to reach that, you'd have to get slavery. But that's not what it is. You have some of those idiots in there, but that's generally not what it is. It was a similar problem with, like, defund the police. The idea, good idea. The name, horrible name. Because obviously when a lot of people hear that, at face value, are going to be like, take away police. No. Even though it wasn't about removing police officers, it was about helping them get more resources in places where, they were sending police where they didn't need to be sent, where it was out of their expertise. But the name was trash, which caused a reaction, which then caused neoliberals to, like, one-up it, to actually, like, abolish the police, which is like, what? No, that originally wasn't what it was. So now the right's doing this with anti-work, thinking it's a bunch of commies who just want to sit around and get paid by the government, which, again, I said there are some, just like with defund the police, there were some that was just like, yeet their money instead of reallocate it. And you can see in this interview that Jesse Waters, because he's another idiot boomer, doesn't even know what this is or what it's about, but you can clearly see in the interview he's never read the thing. Yeah, they got weird lefty politics stuff in there that's not relevant to work, which it's only been popping up recently, which, of course, yeah, that's dumb, but there's dumb people in every movement. And I think getting behind here, this is something the populist left and the populist right can get behind, because we all agree we're getting screwed over by the boomers and all the corporatists in government that have been just selling us out. Selling out the younger generation, pushing us into poverty, and then saying we're lazy. Setting up scams like college, which, yes, the whole college system is a scam to keep you in debt, so you're basically a wage slave to a corporation. Same thing with healthcare being linked to your job, which is insanely stupid. And are you going to be surprised when these people who don't feel valued, they're not getting paid enough, and they're just like, you know what, I don't want to do it anymore. I don't want to do it. I'm not dealing with this. Now, where I disagree with a lot of people are the people who want the more socialistic style solutions, because y'all know me, I'm a hardcore capitalist pig, but we've seen results, as with Trump, that free markets can achieve shorter work days and higher pay. But in the meantime, instead of slap fighting left versus right, again, I think we should both be pointing to the people who've been screwing us over. And one other reason I really wanted to highlight this interview is because I adore this country, but there's a couple aspects in its culture I absolutely despise. And one, as we're going to see here in this interview, is exemplified perfectly about how our work culture in America specifically is insanely toxic. And it's compared to other cultures that have a high emphasis on, like, hard work, like Japan. One, they have their own problems with the overwork, but their approach to it leads to sort of different outcomes. But I want to display why I don't like America's.
For 1.6 million subscribers. Joining me now is the person who operates this anti-work group, Doreen Ford. All right, so Doreen, why do you like the idea of being home, not working, but still getting paid by corporate America?
So right off the bat, I love how dumb he looks, because he's smiling like a gotcha, and it's really like he just strawmanned the whole thing. Because nobody argued that. They did the same thing with defund the police. They pull out these crazy, like, white liberals that are like, abolish all police, and then they'd be like, why but black people actually want more police. And I was like, yeah, that's a straw man. They know what he said, and they act all like smug, like they know what they're talking about. And I've always hated that. But right off the bat, straw man clearly has never read the subreddit again. But, you know, it's mainstream media. All of them, all mainstream media. It's just basically here for entertainment and not here to inform you. They're even classified under law as entertainment. So, of course, they're going to try to pull off some straw man. They do this on CNN, MSNBC, ABC, all of them. Fox News, they all do this. But
yeah, so there's some misconceptions about the movement. So we're a movement where we want to reduce the amount of work that people feel like they're forced to do, and so we want to still put in effort, we want to put in labor, but we don't want to necessarily be in a position where we feel trapped. You know, you just quoted from Office Space, where that person feels very trapped in their job.
what's wrong with that? This is the problem I have. Nothing he said was wrong here, right? The millennials, and a lot of them in this subreddit are like this, where they're getting exploited by their boss, and they're just like, I'm not doing this, I'm quitting, right? And we're trying to leverage their labor to get better conditions, which, no problem with that. That's actually using free market capitalism to get what you want, which I'm all for. But yeah, guess what? But guess who's screwed over these millennials who feel trapped at their job? It was the boomers, and how they incorporated all this corporatism into our government that kept the millennials trapped. They were trapped by scams like college. The whole college debt thing was a scam set up by the feds. And the reason you can't get out of it, Biden, because it was Biden in the 90s. Which is why, I'm not gonna lie, I did laugh at all the progressives that were like, Biden's gonna cancel our student loan debt. And I'm like, you dumb motherfuckers, he's the reason you're stuck in the debt and you can't get out of it no matter what. That was Biden. But she was like, you got scams like that, tying your healthcare to your job. Another way, you're basically just trapped. Interest rates with the college system, allowing you to take out government loans for useless degrees that you have to pay back, but you can't get a job with. The interest just piles and piles and piles, and you have nowhere to go. And again, because of Biden, you can't get out of it, no matter what, and bankruptcy doesn't cancel it. So these boomers came in, screwed up the government, made things like college a scam, healthcare a scam, kept you all, and now you're stuck in the situation where you can't do things. And then these same boomers get mad at you when you just go, I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. This is why I said the right always is like, we would get more young Republicans if we took over the cultural institutions like the college. And I'm like, no, you won't. No, you won't. You know what will happen? It was like, are you going to address college debt? And a lot of them go, no, you got to pay it back. You took out the loan, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, so they'll be more right wing, but they'll still be voting for Bernie Sanders because they're trapped in this never ending cycle of debt, which makes sure they can't get loans. They can't get houses. And then it's like, if the only politician that will address that problem is Bernie Sanders, I don't care how right they are. They will be like, I'll take Bernie. You know what? A lot of Bernie voters went to Trump for the same thing, but in reverse. And I don't get how the right doesn't get this. Like, I'm not one of these cancel student debt persons, but I'm like, yo, if we got to clear the interest rates to make sure people can get on the right path to getting their life back on track and they don't feel trapped, then okay. Because I'm not sitting here like government, pay people out or whatever. I'm going, yo, this was a scam set up by y'all. You can at least offer an out because they trick people into signing these college loan contracts. You can't have a generation that literally has nowhere to go. I've always said this. I was like, y'all laugh at them right now, but you're going to regret it when no one can buy houses in 10, 15 years. And we're going to have a housing market collapse.
I think we're calling for a society where there's less of that. But yeah, absolutely, people still want to do things. They just want to do things where they feel rewarded and they feel like they're in a good spot in their life and that their job respects them and stuff like that.
All right, so again, what did he say so far that was wrong? Well, let's see where this goes.
There's varying.
So Doreen, but you're not being forced to work. This isn't slave labor. You've applied for a job. You've agreed to the terms and conditions of the employment. And, you know, you can walk away from that job at any time and quit. So I don't understand.
Do you notice how he didn't actually address what he said? He just said something that was like completely scripted, that where he's doing one of those things where he's going into like it seems like he's doing one of those things where he's going into like a debate, and he's one of those people that worked it all out in his head. So when he gets an answer he doesn't expect, he just goes back and answers the question he heard in his head, but not actually what was said. It was like he never argued. They didn't, like in the anti-work Reddit, they never argued that they against their will took this job. Nobody argued that. They know they sold their labor, and now they're saying when we don't feel appreciated, we are going to retract our labor. I've been like this in work. I'm like, what you give is what you get. When I was working through school, I was like, you're going to pay me minimum wage, you're going to get minimum effort. I think that's a fair trade. If you want me to stay late and do all this extra stuff, okay, give me a raise. Give me a reason. This is why I never liked this dynamic in America where you're expected to give the employer the most gain for the minimum amount of money. I was like, no, I never liked that philosophy. I'm like 1-to-1. Minimum wage, minimum effort. How about that? That seems fair. And an illustrative problem that I have with American priorities when it comes to work. One of the issues I do hate about American culture is it's your job comes first. Your job comes before your family. It becomes before your health. It becomes before your future. And people will give you crap for it. I kept trying to, when I was like, I'm in my finals, I can't come in for the next 3 days because I got to get these done. I immediately get called in between 2 of my classes going, dude, we need you, come in. And I was like, no, I told you I'm in class. And they're trying to convince me that their minimum wage job is more important. Right? My mom would get punished if she had to leave early to come pick me up from school when I was a kid. Twice I had to go to the hospital. Imagine that. You got punished by your work because you had to leave early because your kid had to go to the hospital. Right? You have people who are sick and they'll go like, dude, it's just a cold. Just come in. Right? The concept of limited sick days is bizarre to me because, you know, shit happens sometimes. Obviously, you do have people who can abuse that, but like, I'm not coming in if I'm sick. And the fact that some people are like, dude, just come in anyway. That's insane to me. That's an insane concept to me. This is why I quit games. I was like, there were some good parts where if you had a good company, it was like, we don't care what you do as long as your work's done by the deadline and it's up to the right quality. We have no problem. You want to take a 3-hour lunch? Go ahead. You want to come in for, 4 hours some days? Go ahead. It's fine. But in the more corporatized areas, it's like you're going to be working 14 hours a day. And they get this toxic idea that's good and you should drive that way. And I'm like, look at you guys right now. Look at yourself in the mirror. You're all fat, mentally unhealthy, or you're super skinny. You eat like crap. Your health is just terrible. You can't see your family and you're happy about that because you're working? I was like, kind of unhealthy. You know what I mean?
Understand really what this is about,
Sure.
except it sounds like maybe people are just being lazy. Are you encouraging people to be lazy?
You just exemplified my point. We feel underappreciated, we feel trapped, and we're not dealing with it. Why are you so lazy? This is my problem with conservatives. They always do this shit. And I was like, that's Rich coming from an anchor that has FU money that can do whatever he wants, going to working class people and being like, why are you just so fucking lazy? Why aren't you putting in more than 40 hours? It's like, because I will take a lower paying job. So I have time to make sure I'm in the gym, to make sure I'm kickboxing, and to make sure I'm working on other projects, and take a job where I'm at work all day, and my body is deteriorating, and my mind is deteriorating. I don't give a fuck about the money.
So I think laziness is a virtue in a society where people constantly want you to be productive 24/7, and it's good to have rest. That doesn't mean you should be resting all the time or not putting effort into things that you care about. But I think one of the
perfectly reasonable position. He's saying, don't be lazy. You got to put in effort, but there is a limit where you're going to start hurting yourself, where you feel forced to go past that limit and it becomes unhealthy. What is the problem with that statement?
What do you think is like a good work day? How many hours is a solid work day in your ideal society?
Sure. I mean, I think as much as people want. I mean, I personally work. I have like a 25 hour work weeks, which I
That's completely fair. Notice he's more obsessed with the number of hours over the quality and production output of the work, right? Which is, again, another big problem I have coming from like a corporate America type space, is it's how many hours, not the quality. As I said, one of the benefits of working for some of the small indie companies I worked for a long time ago, like, yo, my work's done early, I'm gonna head out. It was cool. Sometimes I would get 24 or 25, 20-hour work weeks. And I'm like, yo, is this what you want to do? Are you making your money? Are you working towards something, something you might want that's more? Or if you're happy with it, is everything taken care of? Yes? Okay, cool. What's the problem? What's this with, why aren't you working harder? It's like, well, what if he has everything he needs?
think is fairly good. So I would like less work hours.
And what do you do, Doreen?
I'm a dog walker.
A dog walker. Okay.
Yes.
And how?
Yeah. So
How
I
old
find a
are
lot
you,
of
if you don't mind me asking?
Sure, I'm 30.
You're 30. Okay. And is there something you want to do besides being a dog walker? Do you aspire to do anything more than dog walking, or is that kind of your pinnacle?
I love working with dogs. If I had to do this for the rest of my life, I wouldn't be super complaining. Dogs are wonderful animals. But I would love to teach. I would love to, work with people and stuff like that.
What would you teach, Doreen?
This is part of my problem with this kind of culture of, look, if he's happy doing what he's doing right now, okay. If he doesn't want to aspire to more, okay. Is he burdening the taxpayer? Is he living off government? Is he doing something like that? If he's not, who the fuck cares? And my problem is with these sort of elitist people who are looking down on other, like, he's acting like a complete Democrat right now. He's looking down on working people because they're not doing it exactly the way they want to do it. Sort of how you had Dems shitting on the working class for years, and you had the elitist Republicans and neocons shitting on the working class for years, and they just look down and like laugh at these people for more like not doing a job that's great enough, or seeing something as not enough of value to society. And I'm like, I thought y'all liked capitalism. All right, if he has a service and people want it and he makes enough money and he's fine with that, okay. I don't get why you look down at him or look down upon these workers, which you can clearly see he's being condescending and smiling at him. He's trying to explain what he does. And I've always hated snooty elitists who look down on lower wage workers. It's sort of like I hated the Republicans who go like, minimum wage should not be a livable wage, because it's minimum and you should strive to be higher. Okay, I'm not for minimum wage laws, and that's a long story, but anyway, I'm like, okay, if minimum shouldn't be a living wage, for example, how do we solve the homeless problem y'all complaining about? Because to get the homeless on the right track and getting back engaged in society, they would have to start at some low-wage jobs, some low-level jobs. And if you're going to say that shouldn't be livable, then why are you complaining about them being homeless? Because they're going to continue to be homeless. So like I said, I don't like the snooty elitism of either side. Like both, like the neolibs, the corporate neolibs and the corporate neocons, I just can't stand these people. And then it's like people wonder why Trump won. It was like kind of, that discontent for the lower working class people.
Philosophy mostly, just introduction to philosophy, critical thinking, reason, stuff like that.
Okay. Well, I
find it funny that he laughed at that, showing that Jesse Waters has no ability to critically think here, as he couldn't even answer his questions. He was responding to like a completely different answer. But okay, all right.
To take your class, Doreen, I would just be taking notes the whole time. And you know what? A professor's a very similar schedule than something that you're imagining. So I think that actually might work perfectly for you. Listen.
I don't get why, he's laughing and being condescending. Because all I've seen off of this is maybe he should take a class in logic and reasoning, considering he couldn't even address some pretty simple questions. Which is funny, because Fox News, when Trump was talking about getting the working class, paid more and saying how they were overworked, I think it was Fox News who was cheering, and now when it's someone they deem as a lefty, now all of a sudden it's you're lazy. I just want some consistency here, right? Because I don't like this whole populist left and populist right fighting each other because it's a complete distraction from what actually matters. But you know, you're gonna have the infotainment clowns like this who are just here to cause problems and make sure you always hate the other.
I think this might not be the greatest idea, but who am I to judge? To each their own, they say. It's a free country.
Sure.
Not everything's free, but it is a free country.
When did he ever say things should be free in here? He said, oh, I wanted to work less, and then he just sort of was like, well, not everything's free. He never said that. That's why I said, why are you laughing at him wanting to be a professor who wants to teach like reasoning or logic when you clearly don't have any? I can't imagine. I was like, you're just making yourself look dumber, my guy.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
We got to run. We got to pay the bills.
What was this assumption he couldn't pay bills? Again, like I said, it's just a snooty elitism. And I was like, this is why I was like, yo, these people wouldn't know what to do if the populist left and right, the working class left and right, actually stopped slap fighting over nonsense in a culture war and actually realized the establishment people are the problem. The neoliberals and the neocons that screwed you guys over. They screwed you over with government policy to make sure you stay in debt, to make sure you get punished for not going into debt, as that's basically what credit scores are. You stay dependent. If you need healthcare, you have to stay dependent on a job for healthcare. Then go, we feel trapped, overworked, underappreciated, and then y'all just go, why are you so lazy? I don't know. Why did you put in policies to make sure we're in this position? I'm just saying, bro.